What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gamescast Now, episode 34, topic 1. I'm Alex, and this is our conversational gaming show, a show where we talk about the biggest things in gaming, whether it be gaming headlines, trending things, whatever, and we talk about them. This comes out every other week, Monday and Wednesday at 5 a.m., and in this video, as you probably saw from the title, we're going to be talking about Spider-Man, and we're going to be talking about Detroit Become Human. We're going to be talking specifically about when they should release. Now, I did something like this a couple months ago, kind of when we switched what Gamescast was and how we record this show. I had talked about when I think God of War was going to be released, and I had said sometime either in late March or in April, and I ended up being right. It's coming out April 20th, and funny enough, when that topic came out, they announced God of War's release date like 2 days after. So if you want to think of this as like a good luck charm, you can maybe expect the release dates for Detroit and Spider-Man to come out within the next week. So we're going to just talk about where they kind of fit in Sony and in PlayStation 4's grand scheme of things, and we'll talk about the games a little bit as we do that. So what do we got? When I talked about God of War, I had talked about wanting it to fit in where it best belonged and where to not hurt other PlayStation exclusives. And I think Sony did that in a pretty good way. I think they had the best intentions of where they wanted to put God of War to the rest of the PlayStation ecosystem. So let's talk about that. In January, we had The Impatient, which was a PlayStation VR title. I mean, I would consider that a PlayStation exclusive, and I would consider that something that you don't want to put another PlayStation exclusive up against just so it can't take away from The Impatient. You want to try and sell VRs. Obviously, right now, they're even doing sales. I think it just ended today when I'm recording this. I'm recording this yesterday, your time. So, that's something that you don't want to mess with. February, we had Shadow of the Colossus, the remake to that game. Fantastic game. I really, really loved it. And you didn't want to put a game near that. So that's another thing. Now we get to March, and March was where I said that God of War would have fit in a way, but not exactly. I wouldn't have wanted God of War to be at the end of March. So I figured if you're going to do God of War, you're going to want to shoot. I believe my final date was the first week in April. I think April 5th is a Friday or something like that. Somewhere right around there is where I would have put God of War. I was 2 weeks early in my prediction. That is where I would have put it, just because the end of March, we're not only getting a ton of games in general, we're getting games like Sea of Thieves, and we're getting games like Far Cry. So we're getting games for all consoles, but we're also getting actually quite a few games pretty much for PlayStation. So we have Valkyria Chronicles 4 that comes out on March 21st, and that game is just as of the time that it's getting released, just for PS4. It's coming out on the Switch in the summer, and it's coming out on Xbox One later in the fall. So it is coming out on other consoles, but in terms of when it's releasing, Sega is releasing it exclusively on PS4. So I figured, okay, there's one. Ni no Kuni 2. That game got delayed several times, but its ending date, and it's gone gold, so we know it's going to happen, its final confirmed date is March 23rd, which is that Friday. Now, that would have been a pretty rough Friday to put God of War, because again, Ni no Kuni 2, PS4 and PC, but when it got announced in PlayStation Experience 2015, it was pretty much talked about, and people see it as a PlayStation exclusive. Again, I said in my preview for Ni no Kuni 2, which comes out in a couple weeks, I talked about using the Xbox model, where Microsoft likes to say every single game that comes out is a Xbox exclusive, even though it does always come out on PC, except for like a game like Halo, which could eventually come to PC as well. So I wanted to take a jab at them with that. So let's just pretend it's the same case for Ni no Kuni 2. It's a PlayStation exclusive because it's a PlayStation console exclusive. But see, Microsoft never says that anyway, so it doesn't matter. Ni no Kuni 2, March 23rd. That is a game that you do not want to mess with, because you want it to do well. You want to show level 5 and that it's a game that you paid them whatever amount of money to make it a console exclusive for PlayStation, and you want to make you want to make your money's worth. You want to make it sell really well on PlayStation. You don't want to do that by putting out your big gun in God of War. Now, I'm getting to Spider-Man in Detroit, by the way. Those are coming. So you got that. Then you also had MLB The Show 2018 coming out late March, I think March 27th, which is the same day as Far Cry 5. So you didn't want to put God of War there. So God of War ends up being April 20th. Yakuza 6, The Song of Life. That game, which has already come out in Japan, is coming out on April 17th. So now the middle of April, you've dedicated 2 games that are PlayStation exclusive. No console exclusivity, just exclusive in general. So where do you put Detroit and where do you put Spider-Man? Well, it's a little bit of you can kind of flip a coin, because I would think that Sony would want to get Spider-Man as close to come out around Avengers as humanly possible. I think that's the best time to do it. But when it comes to that, I can't see Spider-Man releasing before June. If I were to make it release, I think I'd want it to release the week after Avengers. Now, Avengers comes out May 4th, which is also a Friday. And that's when movies come out. That's also when normally PlayStation exclusives come out. God of War is coming out on a Friday. Ni no Kuni is coming out on a Friday. So PlayStation exclusives are tending to line up more on Fridays. I think Uncharted came out on a Friday as well 2 years ago. So if I wanted Spider-Man to come out, I would probably want it to come out either May 4th or May 10th. Do I think... But here's the thing. You're not going to force Insomniac to put out a game that's not ready. Sony does not operate like that. I think that's the reason we all really, really like Sony, is that they let their companies do whatever they want. They let the developers develop games. They don't force them to make something specific. They give them their time. Talk to Sucker Punch about giving them enough time, even though Sucker Punch, I think, has gotten more than enough time. Ghost of Tsushima, which I keep saying, I can't say, Ghost of Tsushima. That game better be good. That game is most likely 2019, but they're giving developers enough time. As for this is the same situation. I would not want them to force Spider-Man to come out a month early if it's not ready to. I do not see Spider-Man coming out. So here's my official prediction. Spider-Man will not come out in May. It'll come out in June. Now, the more and more we get closer to this, there was a time where I thought Spider-Man may get delayed till the fall. I think that'd be the worst case scenario. I don't think you want Spider-Man to get pushed to the fall. It's the farthest away from Avengers you can possibly put it if you do it like that. And I don't know, you already have Days Gone. I think Days Gone is going to be the massive PlayStation game that people are looking forward to in the fall. And again, you have to look at the other games too. I was looking at Far Cry, and I'm looking at, Sea of Thieves as to why you don't put God of War at the end of March. Other games can definitely hurt it. When you think about their schedule in the fall, you have some of the biggest games maybe of the decade, even if you think about it, because Red Dead 2 comes out in October, end of October. That's very important. End of October. That is obviously going to sell more than just about any game. Let's just say it's going to sell more than any game this year. And it's probably going to sell more than any game since GTA 5. That's a for sure thing. But you also got games like Kingdom Hearts 3, a game that's been, in the making, and people have wanted it for 10 plus years. So that's a game that's going to sell bananas. But then you also have games such as Battlefield, the next Battlefield game. Those games always sell. You have the annual Call of Duty game, and those are probably going to be October/early November. So where do you put Days Gone? Does Days Gone come out in early October to try and get it out before the other stuff? Or does it come out the week before Black Friday to try and give it as much time as you possibly can? Those are questions they have to ask. And then if you want to say, well, we have to throw Spider-Man in now too, where does Spider-Man fit? The answer is it really doesn't. And those are just games that we know about. There could be another Assassin's Creed game coming. We don't know, Life is Strange Season 2, though that's an episodic game, but there's a lot of big games that could be coming out in the fall that we don't even know about yet. Right? We don't know about Nintendo exclusives. Maybe they've got a Smash Bros. Getting worked on right now that we don't know about. So there's a lot of stuff that could happen in the fall that we're not even aware of yet. So it would probably be a bad idea to have Spider-Man released then. So Spider-Man, I think, takes June. Now, when in June? Oh boy, I really honestly don't know, because again, you want it as close to Avengers as you can possibly get it. However, you do have to think about E3. E3 is a very important thing that you have to consider, and you have to recognize that you don't release a game during E3. The developers really just don't do that. So I would say if you're releasing Spider-Man, you're releasing it on June 8th or June 22nd, or even June 29th. I don't think they do June 29th. My official release prediction for Spider-Man is going to be June 8th. That is when I think Spider-Man will come out. Is that the best thing for me and Podcast Now, the channel? I don't think it is, actually, because we're going to get Spider-Man. We'll have to play it for a couple days. We'll have videos and events and giveaways and stuff, and then all of a sudden E3 comes, and we're literally more busy than ever before during E3. So it wouldn't really be the best choice for me. I would want it in May. But that comes to our second title. This title of the topic is for two games. Detroit Become Human, which, in my opinion, Am I looking forward to it more than Spider-Man? No, but I'm looking forward to it just as much. I truly believe Spider-Man is going to be a very special game and could be the best superhero game ever made. But Detroit, I think, is really a step back to where Heavy Rain was, and maybe even better than Heavy Rain. I really have a ton of confidence in Detroit Become Human. I think it can be one of the better games this year, one of Sony's best games, one of PlayStation 4's best games. I really do believe that in my heart. I think Quantic Dream has the capabilities of making a fantastic game. Now, that game, I feel, is way more done than Spider-Man, which is funny because I think they're going to be released within about a month of each other, and yet it feels like Detroit is just so many miles ahead of Spider-Man just in terms of like feeling like it's completely finished. We've seen so much more of Detroit than we have of Spider-Man, I feel. So Detroit, I think that game hits May. I think that game totally comes out in May. It's a spring game. They've even said it's coming out in the spring. I do not think you put that out in June. I do not think you put that out in March, obviously, and I don't think you put that out in April. If you put it out in April, it's getting too close to God of War, and you don't want either title to hurt each other because although I think God of War would hurt Detroit, I don't want to throw out the possibility that Detroit would also kind of, hit God of War a little bit. You don't want to mess with, those are two games you want to give, I would say, an entire month to for your exclusive console base of the PS4 to just get in on those games. I want God of War to just be the only game people are thinking of when it comes to PlayStation for like 2 to 4 weeks. And then you release Detroit, and then you release Spider-Man. Like, you got to give them room to breathe, in my personal opinion. So where does Detroit fill in? Well, I think Detroit probably comes in right around Avengers time, right around May 11th, May 18th. In fact, that's what I'm going to say it's going to come out. I think Detroit will release around May 11th, May 18th. That gives us around 2 to 3 to 4 weeks before Spider-Man comes out. So I think that's probably the most perfect thing you got, because then you got God of War and Yakuza, even at the, well, let's go back. In March, you'd have Ni no Kuni 2. In April, you have Yakuza and God of War, like a tag team. In May, you'd have Detroit Become Human, and in June, you'd have Spider-Man. Fast forward to the fall, you'd have Days Gone, and you'd even have Dreams. You have to fit Dreams somewhere in the fall, too, even though that game could be the most underselling PlayStation exclusive game they've ever done because no one cares about it anymore. I'm going to respect the game, and I'm going to talk about it, and I'm definitely going to be interested in the game, but I don't think Dreams is something that they have to plan their entire schedule around. But a game like God of War, a game like Spider-Man, a game like Days Gone, a game like Detroit, those are 4 games you have to plan around. Just like, don't think for a second they aren't trying to do the same thing with Ghost of Tsushima, with The Last of Us Part 2, and with Death Stranding. Those are games you plan around, or Horizon Zero Dawn 2. These are all games that you give considerable amount of time to, and you don't want to hurt by putting it next to any other games. Companies do this. Companies delay games and plan their release schedules in relation to other games coming out. So don't think for a second that Sony doesn't do that as well. So that is what I think. That's when I think those 2 games are going to come out. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, actually. Let me know if you think I'm right or if I'm wrong. Where would you put them out? And again, I was almost right with God of War, and funny enough, again, like I said, 2 days after the video came out, they announced the release date for God of War, so maybe within the next couple of weeks, we get the release date of Detroit and Spider-Man, in which case you guys are welcome. So thank you guys for watching Gamescast Now, episode 34, topic 1. Make sure you come back for topic 2 on Wednesday. We'll be talking about whatever is in the gaming world of news. We'll be talking about something that's trending or something that's big in gaming that either breaks today or tomorrow. So I will talk to you guys on Wednesday.